Welcome to the Global Stampin Video Hop. My name's Esther from Stampin Star Creations, and this month's theme is One Sheet Wonder. So I decided to stamp a whole sheet and to make some long DL size cards. I'll be using the Simply Succulents and Potted Succulents Dies, which will be coming out in our 2021 catalogue, which is jolly exciting. I wanted to show you these beautiful dies which come with the set, this lovely very detailed die and some shapes that also cut out matching the stamps. So starting with a plain sheet of Whisper White, and I'm using this embossing buddy which takes away any kind of sticky finger marks and just makes it easier for when you're coming to do your embossing. I'm using Versamark ink, which is a sticky clear ink, so you probably won't see it showing up when I come to stamp it, and this is the perfect conditions for adding the powder later. So I wanted the bigger succulents in a design along the middle, so I'm inking up each time and just turning my stamp as I lay down the design on my paper. This just makes it look a little bit more fluid and interesting. If I tilt the paper, you might be able to catch the light on it and see where I've stamped. So I'm covering this in a special embossing powder. So this is like a gold dull powder, and I'm just sprinkling it over like you would using glitter. So spreading it down my paper and tapping it down to catch all the areas where I've stamped with the Versamark ink. And as you can see, this clings to the stamped image. Just simply fold your paper and I can pop that back into a tiny pot, a bit like a genie. So usually I would set this big design first, but I thought I'd be brave and try and do it all in one go. So I'm using a single succulent which comes in the stamp set and doing my design across the page, and then using the small one on the other side. And then I'm going to heat the whole sheet up all in one go. I hoped this would save time and I wouldn't have too much smudging. So when you heat up the powder, it melts and it sets and creates this kind of reservoirs for each of those stamped images and gives a really shiny glossy look. I'm afraid I made a boo-boo with my recording and I've missed a bit where I've already gone ahead and used my blender brushes to add on the colour. So I went in with Pear Pizzazz, and then to have those darker spots I used Old Olive, and then the colour in the purple is Highland Heather. So just trying to highlight some of those succulents on the page and just add some colour all in one go. And then just highlighting each of those smaller ones. Then I'm going to come in with a darker colour, so this is Rich Razzleberry, and I'm starting on the end and rubbing in that lovely rich purple colour and blending it into the other existing colours on the page. So just making sure we get the colour down just lightly in circular motions with these blending brushes to lay down the colour, and it builds up the colour as you go. These set of brushes will be £11.25 in the UK, and you get a set of 3 from Stampin' Up. Like I said, these will be coming out in the new year 2021. So I'm using that lovely intricate die, and I've cut out a piece of just some Whisper White cardstock and running it through my cut and emboss machine, which cuts out all those little individual pieces for me. So for this particular project I wanted to use it as a stencil. So I'm bringing in my brushes and just brushing over the stencil, and as you can see when you lift it away it leaves these really fun spaces and white marks on the page to add a bit of interest. So afterwards I'll use this stencil. You don't have to throw it out, you can use it for another project, which is what I'm going to do. So then for the top half, again just using some purple over the area, some Rich Razzleberry, and because the colours are blended on already, you can see that the darker colours come through on here, so it gives it some great effects. So I'm just colouring in the rest of the stencil which hadn't been coloured in from before, and then I'm going to grab another piece of Whisper White, and I want to use it to lay down some more colour. So just following the guide of the paper where the purples and greens lay, and I'm just going to use my blending brush to add on some more colour onto that. And then as you can see, wow, What an impact. Love these results with those lovely white stark lines from where that was lifted. So back to the project, I'm cutting each of these down to 9.5 centimetres, which is about 3 3/4 inches. And you can see how differently they look when they're laid out. Now I did forget to cut off the length, so I'm cutting that down to 20.5 centimetres, which is about 8 1/8 of an inch. So using my lighter colour, which is the Highland Heather, and then a rich Razzleberry on the top of this stamp. This also comes in the succulent set. And just going to use my blending brush to tap over the top, and this just helps to blend the colour ever so slightly so you don't get a stark line in between those two colours. And this gives you a lovely kind of mixed ombre look. The dies that come with this set fit perfectly over the sentiments. They are lovely and detailed, and as you can see when I cut them out in a bit, that they have got this lovely stitching detail that they leave on the paper once you've run it through your machine. Look at that. It pleases me. So I've gone ahead and cut out some more Whisper White bits. I saved you the trouble of watching me cut these out, and just to add some more white area onto my card. So I'm using this liquid glue. It's called Tombow Multi-Purpose Liquid Glue, and it's great for any projects where paper crafts are involved because you can stick it down. You've got about 10 seconds to move it about if you need to. So I started just fiddling around with the layers, and I thought I'd recorded the rest of this, but sadly I didn't, and I'm so sorry. Basically I'm laying down the white dies and I'm putting down my sentiment where there's a lot of a darker space or a space for them to fit, and that's how these cards are composed. So for those little dragonflies, another sneak peek to some new product which is coming out in 2021, I added some white dragonflies to those finished cards. So just bringing you back to those other elements that I had, a bit of a bonus bit to my video as an apology for not videoing the end. So I'm just trimming down my card pieces so that I don't have any bare edges or scraggy edges. Using a circle die to cut out the centre of this one, and I'm going to use that offcut, turn it around and use it on the other card. Because this card was going to be quite plain, I wanted to pop up this whole panel, so I'm using the foam strips to give it some dimension. And then using the thanks stamp that comes with the succulents and going in with the rich Razzleberry. And then using some of the basic gems just to add a little sparkle and to complete the look of the card. Keeping it very simple and letting the paper do the work for me. So with this detailed stencil one, I'm laying down some of my glue onto a silicone mat and using one of the Stampin Up sponges just to pick up the glue and sponge it over. And then just keep on adding a bit more glue, dab in your sponge, and you just dab it all over the area rather than trying to fiddle with those tiny lines trying to put glue on. And then you can just adhere this to your project. And then same again, I've gone in with the rich Razzleberry and the thanks sentiment on the circle, and this time using a foam pad which I've cut out from the larger foam pads, which can just cover that area on the back before sticking it down and adding those gems. And here are the completed cards. So lovely and simple, but a really effective way to just recycle and upcycle those leftover pieces from your projects. Thank you so much for watching. Do subscribe to my channel and hop along to see what everyone else has done for this month's theme of One Sheet Wonder. Have a good day.